Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech, and today we're going to be talking about $50 Black Vampire Burn. I'm very excited to bring this list to you. As always, before we hop into the video, just a couple things we got to go over. The main thing is, let me know at the end of the video, what do you think about the list? Is there a card that I definitely should have included that I didn't? Just let me know in the comment section below. And if you have any suggestions for upcoming videos, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So, all right, $50 Mono Black Vampire Burn. So, I wanted to make a black burn deck. It's something I've always joked about for a long time, mostly because of the card Sovereign's Bite. Spoiler alert. The card saw a little bit of play in standard for the most part, especially at like the FNM level. I saw a ton of people playing like all those like 3 to a opponent and you gain 3 and all those drain effects, which are really good against other aggro decks. And I thought, is there enough to build a deck in Pioneer where that's essentially what it is, like mono black, drain, burn pretty much, and there definitely is. And I ultimately decided to also play a vampire package just because of the creatures, which we'll kind of hop into that in a second here, and it'll kind of all make sense. So let's go and hop into it here. So these are our 1-drops that we're playing. We're playing 4 Vampire Cutthroat, 3 Vampire of the Dire Moon, and 4 Knight of the Ebon Legion. Vampire Cutthroat, definitely a card that does not see a lot of play. It has Skulk, which means this creature can't be blocked by creatures with greater power, which means, pretty simple, it's going to be able to get in for damage a lot. Unless an opponent has like a 1-2 or something like that, pretty much we're going to be able to attack with this thing always, which is pretty sweet. Vampire of the Dire Moon is very good. 1/1/1, Death Touch Lifelink. It's also a vampire, which matters for our deck. This card's like $3.50 a piece, which is crazy. It's also US dollars, just because it's never been reprinted. It's only been in M20 as an uncommon. So if you have some laying around, definitely play it in the deck, but don't feel like you have to. You can also just play another 1-drop vampire, but it's still a very, very good card. And then, obviously, Knight of the Ebon Legion, one of the best 1-drop vampires. The card is incredible. And part of the reason that we're also playing the vampire package is because of its triggered ability. At the beginning of your end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, put a 1/1 counter on it, we are going to be able to trigger that extremely easily, which will make more sense in the upcoming slides here. But these are our 1-drop vampire package. Next slide here is our 2-drops. Spoiler alert, our curve stops at 2. With our vampires, we're playing 4 Gifted Aetherborn and 4 Stromkirk Condemned. So I really like Gifted Aetherborn just because it's really efficient. 2/3 for 2, Death Touch Lifelink. What's not to like about it? And then Stromkirk Condemned is great for multiple reasons. Because obviously, one, we're playing vampires. So obviously, being able to anthem our vampires is very, very strong. The other thing is discarding cards is fantastic because I really like it just because we can discard all the cards that we don't need in our hand, and we can help anthem our vampires. Yes, we can only activate it once each turn. Doesn't even matter, though. Any card that's bad later on, just pitch it, and then we can just anthem our vampires, which is really, really sweet. And there's a card in here that works extremely well. Well, actually, there's 2 cards in here that work extremely well with Stromkirk Condemned, which will make sense in just a moment here. So, that's our vampire package. Let's go and look at our main burn package that we're playing. We're playing 4 Vampire's Kiss, 4 Sovereign's Bite, and 4 Alms of the Vein. Vampire's Kiss, new card from Crimson Vow, 2 mana, sorcery, target player loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life, create 2 blood tokens, which is just really efficient. The blood tokens are really, really good, just because obviously any bad cards that we draw in the late game, we just go ahead and pitch them, and then we can get some new cards, which is very, very huge. Sovereign's Bite is great. 2 mana, 3 damage, and gain 3. That's basically a Lightning Helix. Sure, we can only hit a player with it, but it's still really, really good. I'm a huge fan of Sovereign's Bite. It's kind of the inspiration for this deck for the most part. And then Alms of the Vein. Very similar to Sovereign's Bite. It is 3 mana, but it has Madness, which means if you discard this card, you discard into exile, and then when you do, you can cast it for its Madness cost or put it into your graveyard. Alms of the Vein is great. Obviously, with Vampire's Kiss, we're making the blood tokens. We can cast it with the madness from that. Or, obviously, with the Stromkirk Condemned, we can discard it, giving our vampires +1/+1, and then we have the madness trigger with the Alms of the Vein, and then we can cast it, which is great. So it's kind of like a 1 mana Sovereign's Bite, high risk, high reward. Sometimes it's 3 mana, but sometimes it's only 1 mana, which is pretty sweet. But I'm definitely a big fan of the card. And then pretty much our last burn package here, pretty simple. We're playing 2 Fruit of Tizarus, I'm a huge fan of this card. 1 black sorcery, target player loses 2 life, and then has escape 3 and a black, exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. So guess what? When we cast all of our Sovereign's Bites, we discard all of our cards from Strong Curt Condemned, our creatures die, we'll be able to escape this pretty easily, which is sweet. So I'm definitely a big fan of this card. As the game goes on later, our opponent has to worry about us casting this from the graveyard. We're also playing 4 Hopeless Nightmare, one of my favorite cards in the entire deck. 1 black enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life, which is just an extremely good rate. And then when it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, scry 2, and then 2 and a black, we can sacrifice it, so which means we essentially 2 black, sack it, scry 2, which is pretty sweet. So definitely a big fan of this card. One of the better comments from Wilds of Eldraine as well. This card is extremely efficient, a huge fan of it. And then we're also playing 4 Collective Brutality, a little bit of a throwback. Obviously, for those, who knew of this card, you saw the thumbnail, definitely knew this was going to be in here. This card is just a jack of all trades. So obviously, it has like a duress, essentially, which is, target opponent reveals their hand, you choose an instant or sorcery card from it, and they discard it, which is sweet. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Target opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. It's just extremely efficient. All those modes are all very, very good. Being able to, kill a creature and then discarding a card and then drain our opponent is really good. Obviously, we're going to want to be draining our opponent very consistently with Collective Brutality. And again, the Escalate discard a card is really good with Alms of the Vein, so keep that in mind. 3 mana Collective Brutality, escalating it, the Alms of the Vein, and then boom, being able to cast that and have the Collective Brutality is pretty sweet. So definitely a big fan of the card in general. So that's our entire main board except for our lands, which I'll be honest with you, the lands are really easy to talk about here. It's really easy. We're playing 4 If Near Dead lands and 15 swamps. For those who are longtime viewers of the channel, you know how much I love the deserts from this cycle because they're untapped. Yeah, sometimes you're going to take some damage from it, but late game you have a little bit more reach that you normally wouldn't have if you're just playing basic lands. Not the most efficient thing, put 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature and opponent controls. But hey, sometimes that's all we need to get over the hump. Take out our opponent's creature or shrink it, get in for damage, you never really know. So definitely a big fan of If Near Deadlands. And then as our spicy basic land of the day, I decided to play the Crimson Vow Swamp, just because we have a lot of cards that kind of have like the Innistrad theme, it's vampires, that kind of thing. It only makes sense to do a very cool Innistrad Crimson Vow Swamp. So that's our entire main board, but don't go anywhere yet. We still have to talk about our sideboard as well as some budget options, which I'm not going to lie to you, is pretty simple. So sideboarding, we're obviously going to want some graveyard hate. Cards like Tormod's Crypt is fantastic. You could also play cards like Soul Guide Lantern if you want a little bit of card draw. We're going to want some extra removal. Really with this, it's really up to you for the most part. If you're worried about humans, you could play like Raven Feeblement. If you just want some general removal, you could play cards like Fatal Push, for instance. You could also play cards like Blood Chief's Thirst. That's also fantastic. Even just cards like, a Doomblade effect. If you want some power word kills, that's definitely what I would recommend. And then also going to want some discard spells. Cards like Duress and Dreams of Steel and Oil are fantastic. That's personally what I would recommend. Obviously, if you have some Thoughtseize laying around, you can go ahead and throw those in there, but not 100% necessary. And then upgrade options, there's really not a lot on here. Utility lands, obviously, you could play cards like Beautivault. You could play Urborg, you could play Hive of the Eye Tyrant, that's what I would recommend. You could also put in a card like Shieldred. Shieldred, it's not really a burn-esque card, but it's just really, really good. I didn't put this on here, but obviously Thoughtseize is a fantastic upgrade for the deck. And then the last thing I put on there, tons of different builds. The reason I put that is because the mono black deck itself here that we have, mono black burn, is pretty much 100%. There's really not a lot of upgrades that we could put in this, except really, for the most part, just Thoughtseize. There's not a lot of upgrades. So at that point, if you want to go a non-budget deck and kind of upgrade it from there, you have a ton of different options to go. You could do like a mono black devotion list. You could do like a mono black aggro, which is, still plays like Knight of the Ebon Legion, but then it plays like Smuggler's Copter and then Gix and things like that. It really is up to you. You could also go mono black midrange if you want to put some Lilianas, some more discard in there. It's really up to you what way you want to go with this. But if you want to play mono black burn, this is pretty much how I'd play it. There's not any cards that I had to cut for the most part to fit this under the $50 deck, except for the utility land. So I just wanted to go ahead and mention that. This deck is just really, really fun, and I'm very happy that I got to show it here on the channel. So, all right, well, we made it to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know in the comment section below, what's your favorite card that was featured in the deck? And also let me know if you do end up building this deck. Again, it's really, really cheap, so I'll probably throw it together for one of my F&Ms coming up here. Just let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about the list? Is there a card I forgot to include? Just let me know below. So, I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this very spicy video, and I'll catch you in the next one.